All right, I should unmute myself now. All right, so once more, thank you all for showing up and being part of this General Assembly meeting today. APP is like the powerhouse of our structure, that is the interim government. The APP, uh, they are the real stakeholders, the people that empower the interim government, including, of course, every other structure with the Restoration Council. And so when we say that we're having a general APP or a General Assembly APP meeting, we are referring to the power of the people. The power of the people. And of course, APP was birthed in Berlin, Germany, with the consent of the people, which is why we hold these meetings once in a while to brief the people uh, of what is happening in the interim government. And that is why when we come, we take these reports from the countries and the regions. We take the reports from the LGA chairs and the county chairs. And we also take the reports from the Restoration Council. I think next time when things are well organized, we should include reports from the security chiefs, because I think they play a very critical role in this movement and in the prosecution of the war. Uh, Once more again, thank you for being here. My suggestion is that next time, let's get our reports more elaborate. Uh, the county chairs or the LGA chairs should be able coming in here to present us with a little elaborate report of what is going on in their LGAs and their counties, a little progress report of what is the state of the struggle, essentially, in the LGAs and counties in general. That way, we'll all have a good picture instead of just introducing a county chair and an LGA chair, and they say, I am here, I am here, I am here, and we don't know what is going on in their counties. So I would really urge the county chairs and the LGA chairs, if they have the chance to report, to give us a little elaborate progress report of what is happening in their neck of the woods out there. Uh, the same thing with the countries and the regional coordinators. Instead of having one, the chair of chairs, give us a report of the countries and the regions, I think we can also have uh, every country or regional coordinator take turns, 2 minutes, and brief us with what is happening in their regions or countries. The reason we call for general assemblies is especially to listen to what is happening in the LGAs, the counties, the countries, and of course those regions. So let's give them much more time and get them ahead of time to prepare to come in and give us progress reports of what is going on in their countries. I will start with some announcements before I get into the core of the report that I would like to present to you today. And I know Mama G was asking for questions, and I thought let me speak first, and then we can open the lines. Or for those who may have questions to ask, I am ready to take as many questions as possible, if time permitting. But you will realize that we have not been raising funds since I took over the management of this interim government. The reason being that, number one, quite a number of things have been happening in my own personal life. And please, somebody should mute. I thought we muted everybody. All right. So, uh, but we have not been doing fundraisers since I took over for some reasons. But I think the moment is here for us to launch those fundraisers. Now, before I took over, we had this campaign for people to deactivate their CID subscriptions. We made those announcements because CID subscriptions were no longer going into our national treasury. Marianta was diverting them to an account that we do not know. All of you know that she is still in keeping of, I think, well over $60,000 of this interim government's money, but not to worry about that. There is work in progress to recover that, and we will recover it. She has no choice but to surrender it. Already there is action that is being taken as we speak. So, but she had also diverted funds from the CID platform into an account that we did not know, which is why we had encouraged everybody to desubscribe from that platform. Now, I am happy to announce here today that we have actually now developed a new platform, which, as I speak, is being tested. We are no longer calling it CID. We are not going to be calling it CID. We're going to be calling it Amber Dues or Amber Independence Dues, if you don't mind. Amber Dues or Amber Independence Dues. So the website will be called amberdues.com. Amberdues.com. It is up and running, but please, until we ask you to start subscription, do not subscribe yet when you check the website because, as I said, testing is still going on. We don't want anybody to go put his or her information there right now when we cannot confirm that everything is secure. So testing is going on. It will go on this week and next week. And by the end of next week, we should be able to come back to you to announce that you can then use it. So amberdues.com. Amberdues.com is up and running and being tested. That is where our Amber dues or citizenship dues will be paid. When you go there, just like on the CID platform, you will have the opportunity to either enroll for $10 a month or $25 or $50 or maybe $20 a month. There are different options. You will choose that which you can pay. But what we really want to do, comrades, is we want to see at the least, 5,000 Amazonians subscribing to Amber Dues website subscription. Just imagine if we have at least 5,000 Amazonians subscribing to $10, just $10 every month. We will be having $50,000 a month just from that website. If we can afford $50,000 a month, why should we not be able to carry out any action that we want to on ground zero? We should be able to do that. We should be able to furnish the restoration fighters with the material and the finances they need. So I want to plead that it should be all of our responsibility to reach out to every Amazonian, be they in Europe, even in Africa, in Asia, in America, South and North America, to go there and subscribe. I have no doubt that everyone who has a job, can afford $10, comrades, $10 a month. I believe every one of us can afford that, $10 a month. And so if we all take the challenge and we say, everybody, maybe 10 people, you go out, you get 10 people to subscribe, the 10 people get 10 people to, just imagine the multiplication effect that can bring on. Our target is at least 5,000 Amazonians subscribing to Amber Dues, Amber Independence Dues. within 6 months. Within 6 months, if we can do that. So I am really glad about that. This is very, very important. We really get engaged into it. We all know, comrades, that without money, this thing is dead. And we have sacrificed just so much, just so much in 6 years to see it die. We are fighting against so many forces at this moment. And I really pray that we all understand this. And as few as we are, let us know that victories, battles, wars are not won by the majority. They are won by a few minority who are determined and they are ready to sacrifice whatever they can to see it happen. So that is that. And then besides that, of course, you have all heard about the rounds that I will be making. I will be making the rounds, going from one country or region to the other to meet Ambazonians. Comrades, you have heard me talk about unity and collaboration. My making the rounds is not just to raise money. Money is very critical, very, very necessary. But I also want to use one stone, as they say, to shoot two birds. I think making the rounds and meeting our people, I can also reach many people with this gospel of unity and collaboration. That is the purpose for these trips around the USA, Europe, and other parts of the world. I really hope to go to where we have not been to. For example, the Middle East and the Far and the Near East, as they call it. I like to reach those places to galvanize our people and to see that we can raise enough funds to prosecute this war. Comrades, let me say something that I have said to Cabinet. These 3 years of ours, they are very critical and they can determine the destiny of not just this struggle, but also the destiny of the Southern Cameroons. One thing is sure, and it is that within 3 years, something is going to happen in La République du Cameroon. And when that happens, when that transition takes place in La République du Cameroon, many people have asked the question, what are we going to do? And how prepared and ready are we when that transition takes place in La République du Cameroon? I cannot go into the details of anything here, but I am just trying to make you to see the times and to the effect that if we are all ready to sacrifice our time and our finances to put financial resources together, also in preparation for that hour, we can seize that opportunity and make some profit out of it. Maybe, who knows? Get our independence. I have put together a committee that will be looking into that, and I'm also looking into our preparedness. And I will never have to talk about it until that day comes. So, but I want you to know, we are preparing, but above all, we need the financial readiness for such a plan. These 3 years are critical. I really wish we all understand this. They are critical years. If you are serving in this administration, it is very possible, this may be the very last one. It is very possible it could be the very last one. If we can handle that situation in La République du Cameroon very well. So, but that goes to the effect that we need finances. We need to be ready financially. And of course, the material is important, but how good is the material if the finances are not there? That is what is of most important. So I will be making these rounds. We are starting with the Mid-Atlantic first week in December. The Mid-Atlantic, consists of New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Delaware. If there is any other part of it, you can remind me. But I think these are the cities or the states that make up the Mid-Atlantic: New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Delaware. So I will be there first week in December. We are hoping that Maryland and DC, and I guess Virginia should be there too, will take up the next challenge. The next challenge inside December. I wish we can do like at least 3. Meet the people inside December, because after December it is Christmas and people's pockets are a little bit dry until tax money begins uh, to come in. So I really want to make a plea to everybody in these states: New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia. Is Philadelphia a state? Yeah, it's a state. Pennsylvania is a city, right? I think so. So Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York, and Delaware. And of course, if you are preparing it to, this is a moment to start putting out uh, the announcement, the information, reminding and inviting people to be ready. We look forward to being in the Mid-Atlantic, and we really want Mid-Atlantic to be a challenge to great states and regions like Maryland and the DC area. No, Los Angeles has always been fabulous. I hope that they too will be preparing for the challenge. Uh, Texas has not done a lot of it, but this time we're gonna put Texas on the spot. Texas has, I think, Texas is the second largest state in the continental USA, with I think the highest number of cities. I want to believe so. You have Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, all those places. So many of them. So, and we have a lot of ambas in Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, and let's put together a huge meet the people in these places. Now, the good thing about this is that as I make the rounds, people are able to come to me and ask questions about the state of the struggle, the state of the interim government, and what we are trying to do to make sure that the struggle doesn't die. Comrades, it will not die in our hands. Somebody say amen. I didn't hear you guys.
Amen. Amen. They will
Amen.
not. Amen.
All right,
Amen. Amen.
all right. So
Hello.
we will hold on to the fort. We will hold it and make sure that if he has to go anywhere, the only place he has to go is Boya. So, which is the reason for these rounds that I will be making. Now, having said that, let me take you now to the main issue in my presentation, which has to do with the meeting, the meetings, I should say, going on in Canada. I'd like you to know that I think this is the very first, when we had our very first APP meeting, this Canadian thing wasn't in the limelight yet. This is the first time that we're meeting that the Canadian thing is in the limelight. So, but I'd like you to know that we were consulted and invited to participate in the Canadian meeting. I had 2 meetings with Canadian authorities, and they explained to me what a Canadian meeting is all about. I was told that after Cameroon, walked away from the Swiss initiative, they immediately contacted the Canadian government and suggested that Canada host a meeting between the government of Cameroon and the diaspora groups. That meeting originated from Dion Ngute's office in Yaoundé, and essentially they were to decide what would be discussed in Germany. Now, I was made to understand Canada is not a negotiator or a mediator. In Canada is not a facilitator. The Canadian meeting isn't the same as the Swiss process. The Swiss process followed international prescriptions. The Canadian meeting is essentially a meeting called by Cameroon and hosted in Canada. And the Canadians really don't have much to do or much role to play other than sit there and listen, maybe make some suggestions. And I personally had to ask the Canadian authorities, what was the agenda? What was on the table? I wanted to know whether we will go there and discuss the root causes of this conflict. I was unambiguously told that the root causes are not going to be on the table, because this is not an all-inclusive process. Cameroon is not interested in an all-inclusive process where you put everything on the table. That is not what Cameroon is after. Rather, when I ask, so if this is not an all-inclusive process, what is going to be on the table? I was made to understand, again by Canadian authorities, that what is going to be on the table is that this time, unlike before, Cameroon is now ready to discuss the form of state. Cameroon is now ready to discuss the form of state. Now, when you hear discuss the form of state, not the form of state for Ambazonia, but the form of state in a one and indivisible Cameroon, Ambazonia or the Southern Cameroons being part of it. So, Cameroon has essentially decided what kind of structures, what kind of setup they want for the country. And Cameroon has essentially decided what they want to table for discussion, and then they are inviting the diaspora movements to the table to put it before them so they can decide. In other words, they are thinking of, well, let us go to the table and put there 10 federal regions, or maybe 5 federal regions, or maybe 4 federal regions. And then maybe the separatists, as they call us, will talk about 2 federal regions, maybe as in 1961. So this is what Cameroon is taking to Canada. Comrades, one thing that wonders me is whether some of us who set out to fight this war, demanding for independence, do really understand what we are fighting for. Because when I see people who condemn the Swiss initiative now rushing to Canada at the coughing of Cameroon, talking about the form of state as in one Cameroon, it marvels me whether some of us fighting really understand what we are fighting for. Because when you go to Canada knowing that the opportunity does, the forum does not give you the opportunity to talk about the root causes, how dare can you even raise independence? It is impossible. So I was categorically told by the authorities that the root causes will not be on the table. Independence cannot be discussed, but the form of state as in one Cameroon is what will be on the table. Now you all know the first meetings held October 10 to the 14. And now I understand right now another meeting is ongoing, and I'm sure you do your homework, you will get to know who is there. I don't need to call the names, but many of the groups that we know out there are over there in Canada. Uh, I have said I don't really have a problem that they are there. Let them be there. Just imagine if they can bring us independence from Canada. We will all glorify them and praise them. But comrades, we cannot all put our legs in there at the same time, and then when it is a mess, we'll all take collateral damage. No. I think it is but wisdom that we observe what they do. If they turn out to be genuine negotiation, let's not forget, they never go on for 1 month. They don't go on for 2 months. They don't go on for 3 months. They may go on for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, for those of you who are familiar with negotiation processes. They take a long time. So we are not at any loss. Should we realize at the end of the day that they are really talking real business, of course, which I know, again, I think I have very, very good discernment. I know that is not going to happen. Now, comrades, you heard me talk about the CDN and what we are hearing as ground zero command. Ground zero command. I have made it again and again and again clear. Our soldiers on the ground, and I wish they are listening to me. Our soldiers on the ground, if they are not careful, because they are not aware of what is being manipulated and put together in Canada. They are not aware. They think that unity is a great thing and we all praise unity and we all want unity. But the source of the unity ground zero command that we are hearing about is coming from Dion Ngute's office using the proxy, that is CDN. Comrades, I am speaking with inside information. You don't expect me to come here and tell you who is telling me what. But listen to me, that arrangement is coming from Dion Ngute's office. And you will hear that CDN is getting money from Canada. They are not getting money from Canada. Their money is passing through Canada. I hope you hear me. Their money is passing through Canada from Dion Ngute's office. I am saying this on television. So, anybody hearing about ground zero command, when I was speaking with the Canadian authorities and asking them who was going to be at this meeting, I was told that the separatist groups in the diaspora are all invited. I asked them the question, is the CDN going to be there? I was told no. However, they added they will be there much later. Now, this is coming from Canadian authorities, ladies and gentlemen. They will be there much later. Now, they held the first meeting, October 10 to the 14th, rounded up 2 weeks, was it 1 week? 2 weeks after, CDN holds the next meeting in Toronto and invite the commanders, the diaspora commanders of our fighters on the ground to Double Tree Hotel in Toronto last weekend and had a meeting, and the subject of the meeting is to discuss ground zero command. Ground zero command. And they are also discussing repatriating the refugees on ground one. First, the plan to go with gifts. The Cameroon government will do that, but the CDM will facilitate that. And so, comrades, this is what is happening. I smell something here that if we are not careful, and stand our ground and educate our people, especially ground zero, there is a concerted effort, a tripartite of La République, Canada, CDN, to budge this process that we are trying to achieve. So, that is what is happening. And I would really wish that, again, we can take this education out, educate ground zero. Our fighters on the ground, they are ignorant, they are innocent, they are naive. Because the idea is, just imagine if a ceasefire is what they achieved in Canada, which I believe they may. They may come out of Canada after all the meetings, and you hear that, okay, the diaspora leaders and the ground zero fighters or commanders have all agreed to a ceasefire. The first thing they agreed last week in Toronto was to allow schools to open, and so many other things. You can begin to imagine that. So imagine if they arrive at a ceasefire, which is usually what they will do, because they will not come out and say, okay, we have agreed and now the war is over. No. They start with, okay, both sides have agreed for a ceasefire. Cameroon will lay down her arms, and the separatists will lay down their arms, and fighting will not resume. Now, why our fighters will lay down their arms? Cameroon will never lay down arms because they will explain to you that they are the state. How can the state lay down arms? It is the state that ensures security and safety. So how can they lay down arms? That is a problem, comrades. Let's take note of this. When you hear of a ceasefire, from Canada or from anywhere, that is the danger. It is in asking our fighters to lay. And the idea of bringing the commanders together is so that agreement can be reached easily. When you bring them all to the table and push money into their pockets, I learned that some of the separatist leaders were in Canada, but refused to enter the meeting. They were being consulted from the back. Comrades, some of our separatist leaders, I'm not talking about commanders, I mean leaders like Increase, I know. I'm just giving you an example. I learned that I was there, or Reverend Gina was there. I don't know whether our ghost was there or what, I don't know. But this is what I have learned very confidentially. Some people whom you have been told were not there were in Canada, sitting in hotels and meeting with these people privately. At the right moment, we shall call the names. Not today. But I mean some front line leaders. At least I'm talking about those who do not have the boldness to present themselves out there. There are those that we know, like, for example, Prof. Anyangwe and I think Comrade Yerima, they were all there. And but I'm talking about some real frontline leaders who were there, who flew to Canada but did not go into the meeting, sat in the hotel waiting, and then getting the reports, and then meeting with these La République officials and Canadian officials. This is what is going on there. So, we this is what I believe. This is what I believe. There is no motivation on the part of Cameroon to want to sit down on the table with us. Now, I was told by one of the persons who was at that meeting that one of the representatives of the Cameroon government said they are tired of war. They want to end the war. They want the war to be over. And so they want to do everything to make sure that the war ends. And I said, for real? He said, yes. They want to see the war end. What is the motivation for them to end the war now? Of course, I don't see any. The only motivation for them to end the war now is to ensure a smooth political transition in that country. The idea is that Paul Biya's son should not inherit a war that may then divert his attention from his leadership. That's the only motivation for La République du Cameroon, comrades. But listen, my idea of negotiations must be an all-inclusive dialogue where everything is on the table. And everything being on the table doesn't mean that everything is acceptable. You can put stuff on the table, then both of you sit on the table and decide what you discuss upon. So everything being on the table doesn't mean it is admissible. That is the idea, and that is a prescription that the international community has given. That is why they supported the Swiss. Now, we are also watching what is going on in Canada, watching and waiting to hear what the international community will say. Because if they are not hypocrites, they will say, they will speak the same language to the effect that Canada does not meet the standard. Now, after we discussed this here at Cabinet, the Restoration Council, with consultation with some people of international standing, we put out a letter. We put out a letter to the Canadian authorities and the people in the international community, because we thought it wasn't just enough to go on television and say what we feel. We should communicate with them and tell them exactly what we feel and why we are not going to be there. So we have suggested to them that, because when I spoke with the Canadian authorities, I was told that the form of state, as in the Canadian Quebec example, divulging more powers to the regions, So in our cabinet meeting and with other consultations, we thought, okay, if Cameroon is interested in practicing the system that obtains in Canada with the Quebec example, how about giving the southern Cameroons the very opportunity that Quebecians have had in two referenda, in which they choose to vote to stay with mainland Canada. And we thought, okay, why not start from there first? Give the southern Cameroonians an opportunity for a referendum. Let them vote whether or not to go with a federation or to have their own country. If for any reason they have that opportunity, which will only be exclusively carried out within Ambazonians or Southern Cameroonians and only in our territory, internationally supervised, La République will have zero, nothing to do with it. If at such an opportunity they choose a federation to stay with La République du Cameroon, then, how about we then go to Canada at that moment and say, all right, let us then discuss the form of state. What kind of federation that we would desire. Until then, comrades, any sitting down must be all-inclusive without preconditions. Any sitting down should be inclusive. It means everything should be on the table. La Republic cannot come down and want to push to us what they think we need instead of us telling them what we want. We must know why we're at war. We must tell them what we want. Why we have been fighting for 6 years. Not to go and take what they want to give us, but to go sit down with them and decide what we want. That is the idea. Now, some people thought that we should have just gone there and sit down and just be counted and listen and share our opinion like I'm sharing here. And in case they don't listen to us, we'll stage a walk out. And listen, I have said that just doesn't make any sense. Because the moment you get there, whether you walk out, you don't walk out, you have left your footprints there. You left your footprints there. Number 2, you go there with all these splinter groups. You go there with all these splinter groups. The Republic knows the game. They will buy people and suggest that let us vote on these issues. Let us vote on these issues, you know. Then they put it on the table. Buy 5 groups and they vote in their favor and we are seated there. Guess what? You did not vote, but your vote has been rendered powerless because the majority carries the vote, right? We cannot go there to facilitate that sham. When the playing field is level, we will go there, we will sit down and participate. And I must tell you, I am speaking also with the Swiss. I know how they feel, and the feeling is not good. I will not go into any details here. But the feeling is not good. They see what is happening in Canada as a sham. As a sham. Comrades, all that we need to do to bring Cameroon, to give Cameroon the reason to sit on the table for genuine mediation or dialogue is telling them that we are up to the task. We are equal to the task. We did not declare war. They declared war on us. The only thing that we can do right now is to tell them we are up to the task. We may not have the number of their soldiers. We may not have the number of their guns, but we have the tactical know-how. We have the tactical know-how to approach them. We need to do that. Go after them, decimate them, not just in our territory. This is war, comrade. The mistake we made from the beginning was the idea that we are just defending our territory. We are just defending ourselves. It is war. You don't defend yourself in war. You get on the offensive when need arises and when the time comes. You get on the offensive. And that is why we are now crossing territory to tell them you inflict pain on our people, we will inflict even greater pain on your people. You kill our people, we will kill your people. You rape our people, we will shoot down your women. It is tit for tat. So that is the only thing that will force La République du Cameroon to the table. But let us keep our eyes very close on what happens in Canada and what the CDN is doing with these splintered groups and the commanders, diaspora commanders. I really do not think that the fighters on ground zero know exactly what is happening. They are being blindfolded with some ground zero command. But I have explained this, comrades. Ground zero command, is it even realistic at this moment? When you do not have any legal instruments to enforce anything. Do you see Grandpa in Bali going to answer, yes sir, to Sargon of Ngo-Ketuncha? Do you see that happening? Do you see no pity going to say yes, sir, to 10 kobo of India? Do you see that happening? Of course, we all know it is not going to happen, but this is what they want to get. If they succeed to get a number together, they can tell the international community we have the majority of them under our pocket, and they use their diaspora commanders to buy them, so that when they declare a ceasefire, all that ground diaspora commanders have to do is communicate, lay back, lay down your arms. We have an agreement with these people. Let's see whether they obey their own part of the agreement, but at the same time, they are not. That our public will not lay down